Hello, welcome back to my class. Today we are going to talk about domain and the range. Chapter 1.2, Domain and the Range. So what is domain? Domain is the set of all the possible input value to a function. Range is similar, but range is all the possible output value to a function. So now let's go back to our Starbucks menu. So when you look at the menu, what will be the input? So the input is you order the drinks. So the domain of this Starbucks menu will be what? So we have flat white, mocha chips, caramel mojitos, vanilla cream, coffee free, caramel espresso, caramel java chip, iced coffee, iced americano, and latte, iced latte. So I'm going to write these down. And so on. So all of these items on the menu, these are the domain. So that means what is not on the domain. So such as boba tea. So Starbucks doesn't have a boba tea, right? So that means we can order boba tea from Starbucks. That means boba tea is not in the domain of the Starbucks menu. So for range is the output. So the output we have what? Well, some drink they sell $2.50. Some drink they sell $2.80. Some drinks they sell $2.13. It depends what you order, and so on. Something is as expensive as $3.75. So these are the range. So that means I can order something that. So, well, the range such as $10 is not in the range of the price tag. So that means 10 is not in the range of the Starbucks function. So let's have another example. When you send in a letter through the United States Postal Office, the price depends upon on the weight of the letter, as showed as this graph, this table. So what will be the range and what will be the domain? So remember that range is all the possible value of the input, and domain is all the possible output value to the function. Okay, so now let's take a look. So when the weight is no over, I should say the letters. When the letter weighs not over 1 ounces, they're going to charge you 58 cents. If it's not over 2 ounces, they charge you 78 cents. How do you comprehend this table? So that means if your letter is, for example, 1.2 ounces, they will charge you for what? As 2 ounces, right? So the price would be 78 cents. Does this make sense? If the letter is less than 3.5 ounces, but if it's above 3 ounces, so that means something in between, such as 3.4, 3.31 ounces, they're going to charge you $1.18. Okay, very well. So what will be the range? the range would be the input value. So the input should be the rate, because the weight is going to determine the price. So, the domain. So the domain is going to be from 0, not including 0, to 3.5 ounces, including 3.5. So that's why here's a bracket. But for range, we need to be careful. So the range is what? Is it from 58 cents to $1 to 18 cents? Well, so if the range is in between that, so that means y can be any number in between 15 cents to $1 to 18 cents. That means y can be 60 cents, y can be 81 cents. That's the case. But that's not the case, because they don't charge you for the number in between. They only either charge you 85 cents, 78 cents, 98 cents, or $1.18. So that means the range only have 4 possible outcomes, which is 58 cents, 78 cents, 98 cents, $1.18. So here's the range. Okay, so now when you look at these, you may be a little bit confused. What does that mean? Now let's talk about what is the notation of domain and the range. So as you can see, the price to send letters, which is our range, equals to 58 cents, 78 cents, 98 cents, and $1.18, right? So these numbers represent a set of a specific value, so we can write it in a set form. So in a set form means you write with a cursive bracket, cursive. So I have the range, which is in our case is going to be our price, is our input, equals to these numbers. 58 cents. We don't need to, we can have the dollar sign. 78 cents, 98 cents, and $1.18. Okay, so what about the domain? So we know the domain, which is in weight in these cases, is from 0 to 3.5. They can equal to 3.5. As long as you're not over 3.5, that means it's including 3.5. If you're above 3.5, maybe they will not send you out as a letter. It's more like they're going to send this out as a package. So they will have a different price system. All right. So if I want to write into a set form, this is going to be what? The weight, I'm going to use the letter W, which is equals to in between 0, not including 0, so that's why it's less than, because if the weight is equal to 0, that means nothing. They're not going to charge you, right, to the weight, and then it's going to be less than or equals to 3.5 pounds. So this is written in a set form. This is called set builder notation. Okay. There is an interval notation. So if it's an interval notation, how do you write that? So you might see that in algebra classes, algebra 2. So interval, we have either a bracket or parentheses. So parentheses means what? Not including. Bracket means including the end number. Okay. So in this case, there's no equal sign for the 0, but there's an equal sign for the 3.5. So that means I want this to be a parenthesis 0, and then on the other side, 3.5 is going to be a bracket. So this is an interval notation. Well, let me be more general. So if you have an inequality such as 5 in between 0, let's write this down. So how can I write this into a set builder notation? Or interval notation? Okay, so for the set builder notation, since it's h in between 5 to 10, so I want to write it as h in between 5 but not equal to 5, just less than, greater than 5 but not equal to, but less than or equal to 10. So this is the set builder notation. So for interval notation, this is going to be 5 and 10, bracket including 10. So for the next one, similarly, we write inequality inside the set. So for interval is we including 5 because there is an equal sign, but not including 10. Okay, for the next one, we have from 5 to 10. So that means for the interval notation, this is going to be 5 to 10 parentheses on both sides. Next one, h is less than 10. What's that mean? H is less than 10, that means everything starting from negative infinity to 10. Since infinity, you can include in infinity, right? If you can include in an infinity, then we won't call it infinity. So think about that. So that means infinity shouldn't be including. So for the next one is h greater or equals to 10 in the interval notation should be from 10 greater than 10. So that means it's a positive infinity. So here are the notations. Okay, so next thing is how do you find the domain and the range based on a graph? So all right, let's look at this graph. So this is a graph that shows the Alaska crude oil production, 1,000 barrels per day. So what will be the range? The range is when you put in the time, they tell you that, hey, what's the production per day in that year? The average production, I should say that. So our range, no, I'm sorry, domain. Domain is the input value. So input would be what? The time of the year. So in this case, you're starting from the year. If I write into the domain, if I want to write into a set builder notation, should be the year is from 1975 to 2008, right? That's how much they measure on this graph. So the range, when you look at the horizontal, the vertical axis, it gives you the range. The range is the 1,000 barrel production per day. So it's starting from what? A little bit below 200, right? Because in 1976, it goes down. It's starting with 200, but in the year after 1975, it drops a little bit. I can say, okay, probably starting from 180. So let's use P, stands for the production, would be from 180 less than or equals to the production goes up to what? A little bit above 2000. So I can say 2010. So here is going to be our range and the domain. So if I want to write it as a set interval notation, this is going to be what? From 1975 to 2008. And in here, including 118 to 210. So here is another example. So given the graph below and write the domain and the range in the interval notation. So this is what the world population increases. So this table, this graph is tracking the world population by each year. So the horizontal axis is going to be your domain. So the input is going to be the year. So it looks like they're starting with 1951. That's when they start tracking it. So the domain, they want it to write in the interval form. So that means it's starting with 1951 to which year? 2002 or 2004. That's when they ended tracking it. So now what about the range? The range is the world population increases millions per each year. So the lowest point I can see is 40. So I can start in with 14. And then the highest point is close to 19, but not 19, I would say 18.8. So here is the domain and the range for this graph. Okay, so that's it for today. Next time I will talk about the domain and range of the toolkit function that we mentioned in last class. See you next time.